Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a game from Ian Nepo Nepomniachtchi playing the King's Gambit and crushing Alireza Firouzja in Norway chess from 2001. Now this was an Armageddon match where the time control was black had 7 minutes and white had 10 minutes, but black had draw odds. So we get in the game that Nepomniachtchi wants to play an attacking game, so he plays e4, and after e5 we get f4, the King's Gambit. Then Firouzja accepts by taking on e4, and then we get the natural knight to f3. Then we get knight to f6 by Firouzja. We get e5 attacking the knight, and then we get knight to h5. And this is called the shallop defense, which has become a little bit more common at the higher levels when you play King's Gambit. But of course, what Nepomniachtchi wants to do here is get his pawn out so he can attack this pawn and also give some protection to this pawn in the middle. So we get d4. After d6 by Firouzja, we get queen e2. Now, what do you think would be a good developing move for black here? Well, if he played bishop to e7, which is a very natural looking move, trying to get yourself ready to castle, you actually end up losing the piece, because after pawn takes on e6 and queen takes back on d6, can you see how you lose a piece? Oh, that's right, this knight is loose, and so after queen to b5 check, you end up losing the knight on the rim. So instead in the game, we got, after queen e2, we got d5, followed by knight to e5. And here, of course, we've got an attack on the loose knight again, also threatening a check when the knight goes to c6 and winning the queen. So we get black has to go on the attack, so we get queen h4 check, we get g3. And again, I mean, this game is amazing because there's so many times that one move could completely lose you the game. And here, a natural looking move such as pawn takes on g3 again loses you the game because of, can you see it, knight to g6 check. Discover check with the queen, winning the queen, and even if the queen comes back to cover, you obviously win it with the knight. So instead we see that Firouzja takes with the knight, attacking both pieces. So Nepomniachtchi takes back, gives up the rook, an exchange sacrifice, and then we get bishop to f4. Now this is a classic example of good development versus bad development, because look at black. Black's only got one piece out, its queen, all the other pieces still at home. But you might think here, well, I mean, if you've got the discover check, why don't you try and win your rook back? So if you play the rook back, it's actually a really interesting line here where you could end up losing g6, discover check, bishop to e6, knight takes on h8. Of course, now there's no way for the knight to get out. Then we get knight c6, c3, because you have to stop the knight from attacking the queen. And then after the pawn takes and g5, trying to stop black from being able to castle, we get d6, knight to d2, trying to castle yourself, and then h6, making sure that this bishop has to drop back, and then after black's castles, there's no way for this knight to get back out. So what seemed like a good move would actually have lost you a piece there. So let's go back to the position here. So we're only on move 10, so we get bishop takes on e6, then we get knight c3 developing and trying to get castled. Now black's queen here is in big trouble here, because if you played another simple move like bishop to e7, we're in big trouble, because after castles and castles you think, okay, that's great, but look at this, bishop to g2, can't go here, can't go here, can't go here, and you can't go here. So the only place you can go to is h2, but then you play rook to h1 and you win the queen. So lots of traps in this position. So we see in this position that Firouzja then plays g5. So g5 is played with. So yes, an attacking move here by Ian Nepomniachtchi, who decides to push the pawn. So after pawn takes bishop, we get pawn takes bishop, and then we get bishop to d6. Now, interesting move here would have been if you played the pawn takes. Well, if pawn takes, you get the queen attacking the pawn, which would be quite devastating. And after queen to h6, you get queen to c7. And that would be, of course, threatening a nasty check here. So you have to block with the bishop, then you get check, blocks with that, and then you get not the best move there, but better move would be bishop check. So the king has to move, and so then you end up winning the rook with a check. So interesting again how a simple move would have cost you quite dearly. So we get d6, and then white now long castles. And after that we get our h6, queen b5 check, knight protects on c6, and here we get a great move. We get knight to f7, attacking both the rook and the queen. And then after queen takes, you could be tempted here to take, but after black would then castle, you end up losing the piece and the game's completely even. So instead, a better move is to play bishop to c4 because you're still blocking off the castling here and you're attacking the queen. So after queen e3 check and the king sidestepping, if black decided to do the crazy move of castling, it would be a mate in one. So instead we get queen to c5, trying to trade off the queens, but Nepo does not want to do that. And we get knight to d6 check. After pawn takes and queen takes, we're now threatening to win the rook here. And after queen takes the bishop, we get check, winning the rook, blocking with the knight, and then the classy move, rook to e1 check. We get king to f7, queen to a7 check, g6, and then this is a great move, pawn takes on f4, opening up more attacking lines. We get c5, trying to block off and trade off the queen. Now, can you see a really good move here that Ian Nepomniachtchi plays? He plays a brilliant move. Well, that's not brilliant, but it was a brilliant type move by playing rook to g1. Of course, protecting it through the pins. The queen can't take it. And at this stage, the game was over. Because no matter what you do, it pretty much is all over. If you went to h6, you'd get check. And if you come here, checkmate. If, for instance, you went here, you'd end up losing the queen. If you went here, you'd lose the queen. So pretty much, no matter what way you look at it, it was going to end badly for Firouzja. So a really interesting game and super attacking by Ian Nepomniachtchi in the King's Gambit.